Everyone. Welcome back to this exciting episode of In Between Speaks. My name is Art Howard, licensed professional therapist in the great state of New Jersey, Delaware, and Georgia. And I'm a educator, husband, and here with my wife, Marie.
And I'm Marie Howard, a mother, a wife, a minister, a life coach, and a speaker.
Right, and today we're going to dive into a conversation that I'm pretty sure a lot of you are familiar with, especially the men. It's about feeling unappreciated, unseen, and unheard in your relationship.
And it's deeper than just not getting a thank you. We're talking about emotional exhaustion, feeling like you're giving everything and it is not being enough.
Right. And I could tell you from speaking to a lot of my clients, especially the men, who say that they go to work, that they provide, that they do everything that they feel like they need to do, but it's never enough. They're worn out. Most cats are. And what makes it worse is when that effort that you're doing is not even acknowledged.
And for myself, and growing up in a family, and watching the women, working with women, friends with women, we often do a lot. Like we manage the house, we manage the children, we are there for our husbands, we are there even sometimes for our parents if you still have your parents around, and we are managing work, managing life and busy schedules. And sometimes we just want to be acknowledged and appreciated. And sometimes I feel like we're not always seen.
Right, exactly. So when people feel unseen, at the same time, it creates a level of resentment and it eats away at the connection that you're supposed to have with your partner.
And especially that level of expectation where if I cook dinner, you come home, dinner's ready, dishes are washed, house is clean, you would at least say thank you for doing that. But when you walk in and start complaining, at times I feel like, wow, did you even notice that I worked the full schedule, took care of the kids, and then cleaned the house, cooked dinner, and I don't even get a thank you.
Well, I mean, that's kind of like what we're talking about unnoticed expectations. Like if your expectation is for me to come home and bow down and say thank you, Marie, for cooking, you know, even though the stuff may be burnt. Um, I mean, I get it, right? But that's where disappointment kind of really starts. It starts with unexpected expectations not being met by another person.
And for those of you who know me, you know good and well my food is not burnt. It is tasty and out of sight, out of mind, out of sight. But here's the real deal. A closed mouth doesn't get fed. Now that we're talking about food, I know you're not laughing.
Yeah, because I wish I had some pictures of some of the bacon that's
But but
should have made.
but getting back,
Okay.
who wants to be unappreciated? Not
Well,
me.
yeah, well, nobody. I mean, that's where the tension kind of builds up because you want to have some kind of gratitude for what you're doing. So it's not just about making burnt bacon. It's really about being genuine.
You think that's funny?
Yeah, yeah. We call it Cajun. I wish my daughter was here. She would probably could agree with me.
First of
But
all, I know how to cook bacon and cook. Period.
yeah,
Period.
okay. So it's really about being genuine with what you're doing. So you can't just be kind of faking the funk. Like it's hard for me to fake the funk over burnt bacon and chicken. But what I would say though is that I'm appreciative of the fact that you at least even tried to make something. So let's talk about some of the traditional roles that we see, um, in relationships. Like growing up, there was a really straight divide between what men are supposed to do and what women are supposed to do. So if my job was to be the provider, you know, then what was your role supposed to be? Like, where's that emotional connection, that emotional presence? That's something that's not always been modeled for most men.
I know that we grow up seeing women, especially for me, like I'm a woman of a certain age that grew up watching my grandmother, watching my mom, my aunts, and basically all the women just run around the house cooking and cleaning and making sure the kids are still clean and fed and still, maintaining the relationship with their spouse, or at least it appears to be. But, you're speaking about the expected roles. I know in the Bible it was stating that Adam was to be the provider because he was placed in the field, and Eve was his helpmate.
Yeah, I mean, it's great being a helpmate, but you gotta help your mate. You know what I mean? Like, um, I don't want to harp on the burnt bacon thing, but like if you're making me burnt food, you ain't helping me out. you're actually star- you're actually I'm sorry, you actually starving me out if the food is bacon. But look, seriously, if expectations are laid out there and it's not really working, or you don't do a thank you, even if things aren't really what you're expecting them to do, it kind of creates a cycle like of bitterness because when people don't feel like they're appreciated for the stuff that they do, then they stop doing it.
Like the burnt bacon comments.
Well, yeah, well, burnt bacon. Well, we normally eat cereal in the morning because the bacon be burnt. But it's like you have to really show appreciation of the things that people do, regardless if it's burnt or not. Now, I this is something that I normally tell like my clients also. It's like when my daughter was potty training, you know, we sit her on the toilet and nothing will happen. But then when she did go to the potty in the toilet, we make it seem like it was, the 4th of July. Like she just scored the winning touchdown on the Super Bowl. And from that, she associated, her going to the potty with mommy and daddy being happy. So she started going to the potty and stuff on her own, even well before like other kids when we put her in daycare. But the same thing, we gotta attribute to like your relationship, to things that you want to see continue and grow. You gotta water it, you gotta feed it. You know what I mean? So if it's like cooking or cleaning or anything like that, you got to do it and you got to acknowledge it all the time because if you don't, then you got one person doing it and not really feeling like they're appreciated, and eventually that causes like the technical term for it is emotional burnout. So let's just bring this back home. I know we talked a lot about burnt bacon, but that I'm not really going to harp on burnt bacon. Sometimes you burn it, sometimes you don't. But it's the real thing is there have been lots of different seasons in our relationship where expectations are to me kind of not really realistic and appreciation is not really like seen. So
Like the
before,
burnt bacon.
well, I just told you that sometimes you burn the bacon and sometimes you don't. But
Maybe
the
because I'm bathing the kids and well,
bathing
the
the kids,
kid,
bathing the kids. What are you talking about?
like I'm getting like making sure that she's okay, her hair done, clothes, me getting dressed. Like,
Oh wow,
yeah,
Marie, don't lie to the people on the screen.
I'm not
She
lying.
she
Especially on
take
Sunday mornings, like going to church, and it's like he gets up, goes to the shower, you know, showers, get dressed, and go downstairs and wait for us. And I'm upstairs doing hair, getting her dressed, making sure she's getting in the shower. Then having to get myself dressed. And then
oh my
he stays
god.
an hour and
I'm about to
he's
go get my
no,
daughter
it's too late. He
and
stays
tell
like
her
an hour in the bathroom in the mornings, and then he gives me like 10 minutes. Are you ready? Are you ready?
that really has nothing to do with the topic. But since you want to go there, she's talking about
That's how the bacon gets burnt if it gets burnt because I'm
yeah,
busy.
but you don't really cook for us anymore on
Because you
Sundays.
complain that I'm always late, but I'm always late because I'm doing everything.
Marie, you're traditionally late for everything. It doesn't matter if it's church or whatever. You're always late. That's just something that you do. You know what I mean? You're just late.
Ladies, you relate, right?
You're
You
you're
relate.
trying to make it, ladies, you relate. You're trying to make it seem like you're doing all this extra stuff in the morning for Ariana. Um, that's why you're like late. Honestly, folks, that is not the case.
Refocus, refocus,
Yeah, I'm
refocus.
refocusing. Like if you would ask our daughter, and she'll be honest, she's a daddy's girl. I'll admit that.
She doesn't be honest, but go
She,
ahead.
she, that's because she's a daddy's girl. She don't agree with mommy. She don't like it. I'll admit she's a daddy's girl.
She
But
loves mommy.
if you ask her, Ariana, who irons your clothes in the morning? Daddy. Who picks your clothes out in the morning? Daddy. Who gets your lunchbox and stuff together in the morning before you go to school? Daddy. Who buys your snacks and stuff? Daddy. Who gets it'll be daddy, daddy, daddy all down the line. So all that stuff about her
Daddy
doing,
got a lot of free time to do all that.
I got a lot of free time to do that in the morning. In the morning when I gotta drop her off at um at the at the preschool stuff, not preschool, but the thing
Before
before school
care.
care. I got to drop her before school care. Then I got to drive an hour to get to work myself.
I think we're getting away from the topic.
But you brought this up. You the one that brought this up.
Okay, we can move on.
Well, now you want to move on. Now you want to move on. One of these days, we're gonna bring our kid down
No, we're
here,
not.
and we're gonna have her talk because here's what the deal was originally. The deal was for mommy to take care of the night stuff and daddy to take care of the morning stuff. That was the original plan. But all the getting the clothes together, all that stuff supposed to happen at night, that don't happen. That stuff don't happen. She'll put her clothes on the ironing board. They'd be all wrinkled. I still got iron. Thank you for picking out pants, but we don't want our daughter going to school looking like a hobo. So who's got to iron? That's me. That's daddy. Daddy got to iron his clothes, her clothes, while mommy's on her way to work. Who's got to get her stuff together?
5:30 in the morning, I'm on my way to work.
Yeah, well, look, I mean, that's not my fault that your job wants you there at 5:30. I'm supposed to be in my job at 8, but I don't want her to have that long of a day. So I don't. I try to get her there like as close to 8 as I can, like 7:30, something like that. But puts me late at work. Thankfully, my job understands that. But the point of it is that she is trying to make it seem like she's doing all this stuff for her in the morning, and that is not true. Here's what we're talking about. We're talking about back on topic. It's about unappreciative spouses. She don't leave out in the morning wondering if this girl ate, if she got her lunch, if she's dressed, nothing, because daddy takes care of it, right? And I don't even ask for a thank you. I don't even ask for a thank you. I just do it because it's what it's supposed to be done. Reminds me of that. Um, Reminds me of that joke that Chris Rock said when the dude was like, "Yeah, I take care of my kids," and he said, "You're supposed to take care of your kids. You low expectation having. I mean, you're supposed to do that." So I do that regardless, right? I take care of Ariana when she needs to. She needs to have something. I get it. She needs a new um, she needs new headphones because the teacher sends a message says make sure that you have your headphones for testing is coming up. I said, Ariana, you got your headphones? No, my headphones broke like last week. I'm like, what? Why don't you tell somebody they broke last week? So then I gotta get a headphones. I gotta get her this. I gotta get a T-shirt for Tada. I gotta give donations for this. I do all that stuff. Never get like a pat on the back. But one thing that a brother does wrong, that's all you hear is yap yap yap. I did something wrong. That's where the unappreciative stuff comes in, and what creates like the frustration between couples, because the things that a person does that you want them to continue to do. What did I tell you? You gotta acknowledge it. You know, people are so quick to talk about the stuff that you didn't do, the stuff that you forgot, or the one time out of the 15 times that you forgot to take the trash out, they're going to harp on that one time and not the 14 other times that you did it. That's what creates the resentment and the animosity for men. I think that's a consistent kind of complaint that most men get
And
because
for women, it's the same for women.
what's the same for women?
that we feel like we're doing a lot and we're not being appreciated. We're not even being acknowledged. The list goes on, and it's a lot. Although you stated that, you did contradict yourself, babe. Got to point that out where you said I don't get her clothes ready. Then you said, well, I lay them out on the ironing board, so I do get her clothes out.
How's that getting them ready? If you laying them out on the ironing board and you're not ironing
We're
them,
supposed to be a positive force for this. We're trying to. It's
well,
not. It's
you wanted
not.
to be real, right? So we
Yeah, I'm
being real.
real. I'm real. So
We
I do
being
get the
real.
clothes out,
Yeah, you put the
but I'm
clothes
I'm
out.
leaving. I'm walking out the
But if they
door.
all wrinkled to hell, what is that? What
I'm
good is that
walking
doing?
out the door at like 5 something, and I get up like, yeah, I get up so early,
Yeah, but
and
then maybe you do it the night before. How about doing it the night before and ironing the
okay,
clothes
okay.
so that they're that they're ready for the morning? Who see that's a planning problem. She making her planning problem my
Well,
issue.
it's we're not even going to go into that, but I do a lot once I get off from work and I pick her up. It's a lot that goes into the day, and I'm not in bed until late, and I get up very early. So
Yeah, those sister episodes that you watch takes a while. They take up a lot of time.
sisters, not sisters.
They take up a lot of time. So all right, but regardless, I digress. We were talking about unmet expectations. We were talking about feeling unheard, unseen, and as you can see, that's prevalent in all relationships, even this one.
And sometimes you are forced to capitulate and just capitulate and just go with the flow because you want to keep that peace.
See, I learned that word last week, and now she trying to talk about it like she knows. Oh god, that's
Hey,
hilarious.
always keep my posture as a student.
Oh, oh, that was funny.
Thank you, Pastor D.
That was funny. All right. Okay, so look, I mean, this is supposed to be a two-part thing. Really, we were supposed to give you the groundwork in this one, and then talk about how to resolve uh, these issues in the next one, which we're going to do, right? But this was hilarious. But the next time that we're on, we're actually going to try to go over those things, the takeaways, you know, about feeling unseen and if you're not alone in a relationship. And we didn't even talk about like how some people just sit around and don't say anything. So you're feeling like horrible and you just suffer in silence. But
Maybe we need to give them one piece of advice.
okay, well, the piece of advice is don't suffer in silence. If you got an issue with something that your partner has done, then you got to say it then and there. Most people don't because they don't want the smoke. I don't want that argument. Most men do that. Like men are like, look, I'll just not say anything because I don't want to hear like your mouth. You know, it's
Well,
better to not say anything than to deal with the complaints, the criticism. Um, you know what I mean? I'll just not say nothing in the hopes that things will get better. It never does.
women sort of do the same thing. Well, we won't say anything until you do the smallest thing and it sets a fire. There was a spark. It becomes a full flame and turns into a whole 3 alarm fire.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's like that's another podcast for another day. But that's two different things that she's talking about. Number one is, you know, most arguments are 10% what's happening in the now, is 90% of stuff that they bring in. Not they, I said they, I don't mean they, but it's 90% of what's being brought in from a past or something that wasn't really addressed. The brain is an incredible thing. I don't know if I said this in any of these other things, but the brain is an incredible thing. I used to think that closure really was like an excuse, like people needed an excuse to be able to move on to another thing. But it's a scientific principle that the brain does not let go of things until it reaches a certain cycle and lets that stuff go, right? So you have to go through whatever you need to go through in totality before you're able to move on to the next thing. So closure is actually a real thing. So if you have an argument and there's no resolution to it, that argument is going to reoccur at some other point. And if you have somebody who is like my wife, you're talking about something, and then she's bringing up something that happened in 1996. I said, I didn't even know you in 1996. Why am I, why am I being, um, you know, beat up for that? What are you talking about? That has nothing to do with me. But you bring in all those other things from past issues and conflicts because the conflicts aren't resolved in the time that they're happening. So you got to resolve that stuff in the now. You know what I mean? So some cats don't want to do it. They don't because they don't want the confrontation. They don't want the conflict. Not everybody is built to handle conflict. But if you don't want a bigger issue down the road, you handle the conflict now. One of my supervisors, Barbara Duncan, superintendent, said to me, she said, "You want to make the tough decisions now, so you don't have to make the tougher decisions later." And that was great advice, you know. And that was like really about like sometimes you gotta let a cat go. Like, look, I gotta fire you. I don't want to, but I want to try to avoid a deeper thing going down the road. And the same thing is applicable to relationships. You want to make the tough decisions now. You want to have the tough conversations now because it's going to be a tougher conversation later because it may not just be that one thing. It may be that one thing plus the two other things that you were silent about that you didn't talk about. So you want to do all that stuff in the now. You want to do it in the now. You don't want to be hit with a bunch of different things because and eventually we'll talk about like the four things that kind of ruins communication. John Gottman, a book that probably I would suggest for a lot of people to read. John Gottman, he has four horsemen of communication, um, and we'll get into that into a different like episode. But trust me, you want to handle stuff in the now. Don't don't be silent. Don't put it off. Don't think like things are going to get better if you kind of walk on eggshells. It's not. Whatever is an issue with you, you got to bring it up, but bring it up in a respectful way. You know what I mean? Don't bring it up and be like overly confrontational or ignorant with it because that's only going to precipitate the problem.
So now I must say that we have grown a lot over the years because in the past, this little, I guess, uh, miscommunication or uh, of what we expect from each other and what we do for our child, um, or the just the overall conversation that we had or disagreement, minor disagreement, it would have led us to like possibly you walking out the house to go take a breather or me going upstairs and closing the door, to the bedroom and, shutting down and not talking. But this is an example of how, we were able to work through a lot of the issues that we had. And we could joke about it now, we could laugh about it now, but while we were going through, it wasn't funny at all. Like there were no smiles. It was only, I guess, like just bitterness and resentment that were coming out of our pores.
Well, yeah. Well, I think in a past episode I called her Funk Master Flex because she walk around in a funk, like really. She's Sly Stone in the Funkadelic with with her attitude on stuff. So yeah, so it came. We've come a long way from there. Like she may still be a funk, in the funk.
I'm trying to give him props, and he's still jabbing, still jabbing.
I'm like Tyson. Everybody got a plan. Somebody get punched in the mouth. No, it's like, look, it's she still may be in a funk, but the funks don't last. You didn't even let me finish what I was gonna say. She may still be in a funk, but the funks won't last for like weeks. It'll be maybe be a day until I get a text like, I don't like the way that you said blah 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 to me, but I think that we need to do X, Y, and Z. I'm like, okay. Also, that's the thing that we're gonna have to get into. It's repair attempts. It's a lot of psychology in this, but she doesn't like putting her on the couch. That's when I'm trying to read her. She hates it. She thinks I'm trying to psychologically analyze her, but it works. For the stuff works. I mean, like I got a degree in it, so like why not utilize it? But my professor also said like you could be the best heart surgeon in the world, but you can't perform open heart surgery on yourself. But I can help you because not only do I know it from a therapeutic and research based standpoint, I done lived it, you know. And any of my friends out there know, like that dude done lived it. So,
We both lived it.
well, that's funny. So I can give you not only the technical knowledge, I can give you the life experience of what it's been. You know what I mean? And it's been a long road. You know what I mean? It's been a long way. It's been a long way round.
And it doesn't have to be. If you could take some advice from folks that have been there, done that, and just save yourself some time, some heartache, and some pain, hear us out and just learn from our experiences, our negative experiences to help you grow. And just a little hint, but we're working on a big surprise for you all. There's something coming forward, so mark your calendars for September 26th to the 28th. Something big is coming. We are so excited. You want to say anything about that?
No, I don't. So
Okay.
next week we're going to talk about how to stop. There'll be violence on podcast. Next week we're going to talk about how to rebuild like appreciation in your relationship, like what you need to do, what you need to ask for, some things that probably you're missing. But you got to remember that it's kind of like a two-way street. That somebody's got to make that first step.
And we'll see you all in part two. In the meantime, in between time, we appreciate you so much. And we hope that you can appreciate somebody, anybody, just so some appreciation for someone.
All right. See you guys on the next episode.
Blessings, kings and queens.